Hello from Gardening at Douentza in Ireland, and this video is an update on my orchids, as some stuff has been happening recently and I never got around to making a video about it, so I hope you enjoy it. I suppose you might say this is an orchids in bloom video, but to tell the truth, I really got fed up making orchids in bloom videos, so, well, okay. I'm not going to call it that, although it'll probably pan out to be that way. At the end of this video, I'm going to show you a couple of updates on orchids that people have been asking about as well. First off in this video, I'm giving you a shot of my coastal sunrise. So this is Leyla Cataleya coastal sunrise that has featured in many of my videos up until this point in time, and at the moment has produced 2 flower spikes, and you saw it there in the intro to this video. Now this one is the cat is playing in the background there, that's what that noise is. Anyway, this one has Leyla anceps in its parentage, and that accounts for the very tall flower spikes that you see here. And this year, I've actually managed to get one of the flower spikes to grow relatively straight. That's that one there. Because always, with growing these indoors on a windowsill, you've got the problem of the plant leaning towards the light. But that one's fairly straight. And we've a big cluster of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flowers, not all open yet there on that stem. And down here we've got 3 open and 3 more coming. So it's a nice floriferous plant, really good doer as far as I'm concerned. Next up we have a bit of a joke, and it comes in the form of this Miltoniopsis that you see. Beautiful, pretty, pansy-like flower, only 1 bloom, but this is so funny because I just cannot grow Miltoniopsis, yet somehow Archie sent me, you know Archie from the channel Archie's Orchids, he sent me this without roots, and I managed to get it to grow roots again and to bloom. So how that happened, I have absolutely no idea, and refuse to share any more information with you, but I'm glad to see that it does have a bloom. It's a very nice one. It was only when I saw the buds that I really realized it was a Miltoniopsis. Up until that point I thought it was some kind of hybrid mixed with Oncidium, and therefore would have been easier. So there's that, and we have a Phalaenopsis in bloom at the moment. This one is Elegant Peach, which I've had for a little while now, but has only decided to give me 1 flower this year, and I think this is really down to the fact that my Phalaenopsis aren't given enough light, and that's because I'm very stingy with which orchids get the light, but I'll have to do something about that going forward. Beside it we have this lovely Oncidium that I bought in a supermarket a little while ago, and this is the 2nd flowering for it. It's called Tropic Jungle something or other. You'll see the name anyway in the details of this video, because I always list the orchids in order of video appearance there, and you'll see it. But it's very nice markings on it, very pretty flowers, and as I said, 2nd flowering, so that is good. I really do need to repot this one, because you can see there's lots going on there, lots of these dead kind of aerial roots. But yeah, well, that's a job for spring, isn't it? And down here we have this teeny tiny mini phal that still has 2 flowers and is potted in one of these transparent pots, which actually pools water at the end. So whenever I water this, I need to be very careful to tip it upside down as well to make sure all of the water runs out. And this has been flowering for a very long time and is still going, so that's good. Moving over to the centre of the table, we have deux white pink pig, which is a Cataleya alliance orchid with the most enormous flower. Now this one has been in bloom for over 3 weeks at this stage, and it really is a spectacular flower. You can see it's just gone past its best by date there, with a couple of markings on the petals, so it won't last for too much longer. Anyway, several people have asked me about the scent for it, and it does have a scent, but it's quite delicate in comparison to other large Cattoleyas that I've grown, where the scent will really fill the room. You need to go up and give this one a sniff to get it. So that's Does White Pink Pig. And it's flanked here by this Oncidium alliance orchid, which has been flowering for a good long time, and no ID, so this one came from Archie as well, and I would like to have an ID for this one, so if anybody has any information, that would be super. And right behind it we have a €5 Oncidium that I bought for myself recently, and it has very, very small flowers. Look at that. Yellow with a white bib, a long spike, and this was for sale in a supermarket here for €5. But what was really amazing was the fact that they had lots and lots of them there, and all of them with flower spikes, but all with just a single bulb. Can you believe it? One single pseudobulb. I mean, I really don't know how you get something to flower with just so few pseudobulbs. So I had to have a good look around to find one that was a bit more substantial, and settled on this with the 3 pseudobulbs, although they do seem a bit desiccated. But the good news is that there is a second flower spike on this plant, so even if it takes a nosedive after it flowers, it will still have been worth the €5. Down here we have some of my South African seedlings, Boophone in particular, and this little succulent which is germinated, and this is the one that looks like fingers. There's the name there, Dactylopsis, I think. And yeah, we have seedlings, so whether I can get them beyond this stage or not, we will see. This one tends to be a bit tricky. And moving over to the shelf here at the back, you'll see my very good news. And here we have 2 little species Phalaenopsis, both of which came to me from other YouTubers. At the front we have Phalaenopsis equestris, which came from Bumblebee. And look at that little cute flower. So, so pretty. Now, Bumblebee said it reminded her of a little pig, and she's growing her one to remember my son Josh, so that's really nice. Isn't it a sweetie? Absolute sweetie, and I can't believe how tiny it is. If I put my finger in here, you get some idea. And over here we have Phalaenopsis pallens that came courtesy of Alberto from the Orchaholics channel. Oh, listen to that cat in the background, so naughty. I'm going to have to let her out now. But isn't it fantastic with all those markings? Just a beauty. And it seems to me that a lot of these species Phalaenopsis only produce 1 flower at a time, whereas the hybrids will tend to produce a whole mass. So that spike bears just 1 flower, and over here we have another spike which is yet to open. So it's all good news, really. Super thing, isn't it? And moving down here we have Cattleya Bob Betts, which has produced 2 flowers this year. Now, one of them is most definitely upside down, that second one, and this one is the right way up. And Bob Betts does tend to do that for me. Oops, the car has just arrived outside the window. It produces a cluster of flowers, at least one of which is generally upside down. So it's, I suppose if I had a cultivar from the Bob Betts, it might behave better. But anyway, that's what this one does. Lovely scent on this one, really, really lovely scent. Okay, and now just to wrap up this video, I'm going to give you an update on 3 orchids that people have asked about. and they are these three that I've put here at the front. The first of which is my Paphiopedilum Pinocchio, which took a nosedive on 2 separate occasions, memorably during the live streaming with Astrid, where it ended up in the ground. And I've repotted it since. I put it in an aquatic basket, as you can see, because I didn't have a transparent one, and topped it with a bit of moss. And I think it's okay. 2 of the spikes have finished, but this one here is still fresh and producing a bud, so I think it's probably going to be all right. It really was bad luck the way it kept falling over that way. And then recently somebody asked me about this plant, which is a Brassia. It's a species Brassia verrucosa, and very often confused with Oncidium when you just see the plant like this. Now this one, it's not doing anything very memorable. It seems to be producing quite a lot of roots, a lot of them aerial, new growth coming in there, and it had some markings on the leaves there, which I think have stabilised. I had the plant in isolation, but anyway, no sign of flowers, so we shall have to see further with that one. And then finally, I was asked about my one and only Bulbophyllum, and this one is the medusae one, the one that produces white drooping flowers, really quite spectacular. And this one, is a problem very often with Bulbophyllums, tends to grow horizontally, and if you're not careful, it will end up outside of the pot. So I found a shallow pot for it eventually, clay, which of course, you know, for an orchid like this that needs to stay moist is not necessarily the best, but I've potted it up in pure sphagnum, which I keep moist, so I think the aeration provided by the clay pot is going to be quite good, given that the plant itself is going to stay moist. And since I've put it in here, it's done quite well. You can see these are the back pseudobulbs of the plant, and if we come along here, then you can see it is producing a new growth there at the front. So, well, that's good news. What I found when I grew bulbos in the past was that the tendency is to leave them kind of hanging out over the pot with all their roots at angle, and that's just because it's so difficult to get the right kind of pot for them. And it's really a recipe for disaster, because this plant likes to be kept moist, and it can't possibly be kept moist if its roots are exposed to the air like that. So I hope this pot will do this plant for a little bit longer. Now, I don't think it's big enough to be flowering size, but anyway, it's doing fine, it's doing okay. And that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you had an update on something you've been wondering about for a while. And if not, I hope you liked the other updates I gave you. Okay, thanks very much for watching, and check back again for lots more plant fun. Bye.